So we first off wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what got you involved with music making.
My name is Jon Williams. I'm from Gainesville, Florida. I went to high school in Fletcher, North Carolina, and also went to high school in Tennessee, just outside Chattanooga. And I was first introduced to folk and mountain instruments when I was in high school. And then I kind of lost sight of that and went to college to do something completely different and not near as much fun. And in 1992, I was going to a festival in Alabama, and I went the wrong weekend and accidentally showed up during a mountain dulcimer festival. I liked them. I've always worked with my hands and made things, and so I asked one of the builders, how do you get the length between the frets? I know that's important. How do you get the string length? And he said, if you'll give me $285 and take that one home, you can copy it. And we still have that one.
Really?
And so I went home and I made one, and it was really ugly, but it sounded good. And I said, I can do better. I stacked encyclopedias on it to glue it together. I had no tools. I cut the wood with a handsaw. It was really crude. Well, after I'd made about 30 of them really crude, somebody said, why don't you sell me one? I want one for my office. He was an insurance agent. So he bought one, and I went and bought clamps. And then a friend of his bought one, and I went and bought a saw. And I began to collect tools, and it was like a hobby that just kept growing. Every time I see a pretty board, I have to make an instrument out of it.
Can't argue with that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of dulcimers?
Some I can. Mountain dulcimers were invented in the Appalachians, in Kentucky, North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee. Apparently it was invented by the settlers who had come from the old country, and they had instruments that were similar, but they didn't have them that were exactly like this, and they didn't have that all-important string length. So what they did was take the banjo fret scale, and they left off the black keys on the piano, so you get this, let me set this one down. You get this unusual spacing in the frets on the instrument by leaving off the black keys. That allows you to tune it into one key. These are tuned in the key of D, and just play the simple do, re, mi scale and play any song, but you have to play it in the key that it was tuned into. So they came up with this unique shape, I call it a taffy stretched violin look. Very unique. The tuning, there's several tunings, but my favorite is the DAA tuning. This won't mean to most people, but it's an Ionian tuning that's like a bagpipe. So you get that string, nasally mountain bagpipe sound when you play it. Best played on a porch somewhere in the log cabin. Works very nicely if you do that. And then over the years we've improved that some of the designs, the glues and the finishes over what a lot of the old timers put no finish on them at all. They were just raw wood. Or they would rub the sweat off their face and actually rub a finish onto them and use the oil off their skin to finish them out, to seal them. Now we use lacquers and some higher technology finishes on them, some guitar quality finishes. And do things like mother of pearl inlay and geared tuners so they don't go out of tune, and new people can start them up and play them.
And will you tell us a little bit about the psalteries?
The psalteries are an instrument that go way back in antiquity and have been resurrected in modern times. Apparently in the last 40 years, a German music teacher wanting to show children visually the layout of the chromatic scale went back and looked in some ancient documents and came up with this instrument, reproducing the psaltery that was used thousands of years ago. And so when you look at it, you can see the white keys on the piano and the black keys, and visually it's a very logical scale to lay out and play. I like it because even people with only one hand can play it. It's the simplest instrument in the world that I know of to play, except for one string on a stick, and I don't make those. It sounds sweet and pure. It makes people smile. It's therapeutic. They sound beautiful outdoors or in churches, hospital rooms. Just wherever you take your bow out and play it, it sounds beautiful. And anybody can do it, including me.
And do you also bow both sides of the instrument?
You do, and By tilting the instrument slightly, you can pick up the notes on the dark side, we call it, or over on the black side, the black keys on the piano, the half step. Folk music, hymns, for instance. Everything will play on it.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have made, I don't know if you need this, but I've made almost 2,300 of them. And they hold up well. I've only had 3 come back for minor repairs. I expect these to last for hundreds of years. I've worked on a 300-year-old violin, and these are made better. The bows last well. I do the bows. Most builders make their own bows. This is my own design. It's balanced perfectly. You can get it in match sets if you want 2 bows. And I make it so that they match the instruments too, so that the actual woods will match the instruments.
And what's the actual bow made out of?
Well, the bow is made, this one's made from walnut wood, and the hair on it is real horse hair. And of course the important thing is, like a violin, not to touch the hair on the bow with your fingers. Then it makes a spot that skips.
Do you rosin the bow as well?
And you do rosin the bow. I'll never tell her name, but I had one lady that called me several weeks after getting one and said hers had quit. Well, we discovered she was actually rubbing her bow on the plastic lid. And when I told her to lift the lid off, or lift the plastic off the wood, she said, "Oh my gosh." And then it was playing fine. So every hour of playing, about 3 to 5 passes with the rosin, and you're good to continue playing right along.
Alright. And how can people find out about you if they want to contact you?
I'm at williamspsalteries.com or at john@williamspsalteries.com. A work in progress on the website.